Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you've managed to find us on our new slot. This is our second week of running on a Friday evening rather than a Sunday. You've got the second class citizen here in charge. Juliet, who's the master of this, is off on grandma duties tonight, so I have stepped in to take point on this one. It's been a really, really busy week. I think part of the reason that it's been so busy is because people are trying to get things out before Christmas, before everything shuts down for a couple of weeks. So, without further ado, I'm going to crack on. We're joined by Michelle and Kat, as usual, and Amy in the background, who is helping. So, let's go to the report stage announcements. We've got some dates, haven't we, Kat?
We do, and Fiona from Ed Yourself has very helpfully published a blog about them as well. We have, where is this list? Starting on the 14th of January and going through to the 3rd of February for the report stage.
Yeah, so this is the final stages in the House of Lords until it goes back to the Commons for amendments to be considered, and then it enters the stage of ping pong. I don't think it's going to get royal assent before Easter. Anybody voting for before Easter? I'm not putting my house on it. Are you? No. Right. Okay. There we go. So yeah, it's ongoing. It's started up again. Nothing delayed it other than the fact that they had so much on the books that they had to discuss that it just got pushed to one side for a bit. Okay.
I've just noticed something. We've done out of a report stage day, because it should be half the amount of days. There's only 5 there. There should be at least 6.
Yeah, because it was 13. Was it 13?
Yes. Because I had the discussion with people, will that mean it'll be 6 or 7 if it's half the days? And they've only got 5 there.
Naughty.
And there may be more to come.
Yeah, it might just be they haven't published the full lot, but that's unusual.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Right, moving swiftly on. So we've had the announcement of a new National Child Protection Authority. I've had a quick look. There's a consultation attached to this. And also, that very interestingly, an amendment put in by Lord Mohammed of Tinsley into the amendments of the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, calling for this authority to be established within 6 months of the day the Act is passed. A couple of things, really. The first thing is that this is a massive undertaking. Even if it gets royal assent in, let's say, July, I think 6 months after that, you're way too soon to be establishing something with arms and legs as big as this. And then I had a quick look at the consultation, and it says, do you agree with the scope and purpose of the authority? And they're not really laying out the scope and the purpose of the authority. So it's a bit tricky, really, to figure it out. Anybody got anything else to say about that? It's a big unknown, basically, and another quango.
But it's definitely a consultation we will sort of talk more about and encourage people. Once we get Christmas out the way, encourage people to complete, because it's got quite a few free text boxes in it. And you don't have to fill in all the identifying boxes. They are all optional. So you can miss all your name, email, everything, but it's got lots of free text. So you can get in. We can bring the home ed bits in there, that we want our own separate panel that includes home ed experienced experts for anything that involves home ed being discussed and stuff. So we will do some ideas when we get just past Christmas, but it will be
it's not due.
Time to help.
It doesn't finish till March. It's March. And the other thing is that if you are a national body or you're representing a body that covers more than one local authority, the form doesn't let you put in more than one local authority in it. So it's a bit, they've not thought about people like, I don't know, Ed Free filling it in, for example. So it's a bit bonkers, but there we go. Yeah, there's a consultation. So we'll get into that in the new year. So keep an eye out for things talked about in that regard. Right, what's next, Kat?
Yeah. Were there more amendments you wanted to discuss?
There was the amendment that Baroness Barron put in, which is after clause 63, is it?
Let me check. 32. No, was it the 32?
Let's have a look. Yes. So this is an amendment on the content of additional information. One of our biggest bugbears about the registers was the amount of information on it. Per clause is restricting quite a lot. So it's taken out how much time they're spending in education, who else they are doing the education with, etc., etc. So a lot of the problems that we have with the registers, she has removed in her amendment. The government will accept it, but at least there's an attempt at it there.
But I think there's maybe merit in people writing to Baroness Smith of Malvern and saying, you've noted this, and this actually appears much more respectful than the current drafting, and can the government consider this seriously? Because I think she needs to realise how excessive it is. Now, I still would prefer there to be no register, but this is 1,000 times better than what's already there. So at least if we can get the government thinking along the lines of it is intrusive, it is excessive, at least then there's a mechanism for them to potentially allow an amendment through that makes it better than it is now.
Yeah, definitely. There was another amendment actually about child in need thresholds. Child in need is very, very poorly identified. It encompasses many, many things. You can be considered a child in need because your parent has cancer. You can be considered a child in need because you are disabled. There are many, many things, and some consistency about child in need thresholds is indeed quite an interesting thing to cover, especially as Baroness Barron wanted to introduce a possibility of refusal for deregistration and removal of the right to home educate for children on a child in need plan. Okay. So
next up we have the your national youth strategy.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Where do we start with this one? So we've just been looking at this. So this is all glitzy and lovely, and here we go. Have the last use for hasn't COVID been awful, folks? And you've all suffered terribly. Blah 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 blah. Here's our national youth strategy. So if we whiz down to page 5, Kat.
Page 5. Yep, sure thing.
Here we go.
This one. Yep.
Yeah. The reason we've put the propaganda document up, and I use that term in its truest sense, it really is a propaganda document. The reason we put the propaganda document up is because we want to show you how this is being sold to children. So this is a whole strategy. This is basically a collation of all the things that they're trying to do for young people or to young people and their families. And it's all put kind of in one document. So here's action 1. Trusted adults. So here it says nearly 1 in 5 of you say you don't have a trusted adult in your life outside of the home, and that's something we need to change. And then the next sentence, which is the one that makes us go, hang on a minute. We're making sure there are more adults around you who are ready to listen, who understand what you're going through. We want 500,000 more of you to have access to an adult you trust outside your home. Now, there's been a lot of chatter about this stuff. Michelle was saying earlier that we're hearing more local authorities and social services departments saying that, well, if they're home educated, how are they going to talk to anybody who's not in their family if there's any issues, blah, blah, blah. And anybody with a slightly long-term memory will remember the named person scheme in Scotland, which got chucked out. And this, to our mind, is a halfway house to another named person scheme, where they're trying to make sure there is a named person. So if we whiz down to the next one very quickly, action 2. Action 2 is strength. It calls it strengthening the workforce. What it is actually is data sharing, opening pathways to sharing data without your consent as a parent and without the consent of the young people. It carries on and on in this vein, and we have to be really, really careful. Was there another one? What's number 3? I think I looked at number 3 as well before. Friends and relationships. Oh, that's the Online Safety Act mentioned there. A safer internet. We all know what's happened in Australia. They've banned all social media virtually for children, which means that all of those lovely autistic children like many we know, won't have any method of communicating with each other anymore. Fantastic. Richer lives. Right. This is the one where Kat spotted a little bomb going off somewhere else. So here they're talking about making available more high quality activities in and out of your classroom. Now, when you're looking at government policy, like I have done for the last 30 years, you start to get little alarm bells when things like this. We're going to make this available to you. We're going to give you the opportunity to do this. It's usually a partway step towards we're going to make you do it. So if you flip to that other screen, Kat, we've discovered this. We want to expand in-school and community-based cadet forces by 30% by 2030, in particular of areas of highest deprivation and with the highest number of young people not in education, employment or training. Do we think that they're trying to put people from poor places into the army?
It certainly seemed that way. And the fact that this is completely missing from the document aimed at young people as well.
Yep.
It's just, there's no mention of it whatsoever. And I'm sure there's going to be plenty of other things in the other documents that they've put out today.
So we'll leave you to go through the rest of the propaganda document yourself. But we've just pointed out a couple of things that we think you should be aware of, and that they'd like to massage the youth into their new policies so that they come out and just accept them. Right.
And all the links will be on the Substack post on Monday.
Absolutely.
It'll be a long list to go through, I'm afraid, but yeah. Take what is useful to you and leave what isn't useful to you. The idea is just to try and bring it all together in one place.
Absolutely. Don't feel compelled to read everything. It's not like a university reading list. You can nip through and pick off the bits. So long as you do one thing every week, we'll be happy. If everybody did one thing every week, even if it was to read a document, we would be overjoyed.
I'm upset now, Alison. I was planning on doing a New Year's quiz to test that everyone had actually read the full reading list.
Oh, dearie me. Right. Okay. Yeah. So the Care Quality Commission, they're the people who look at health authorities and things like that. And they've been looking at, if you can go back to the top, I can't remember what the title is. It's Beyond the Classroom, the Experience of Children with SEND who are not in school. They are finally, one of the things is they're finally looking at the cohort they should be looking at, which is the ones who are on a school roll but are not able to attend school or are not currently attending school. This is the cohort that I feel is the least looked at and the least provided for. They are looking at that. They're saying that access to services is inconsistent. No shock there. We all know that already. I've got concern in this report because they're asking for more information sharing between health, social care and education without limit, really. You know, they just think that it's a free-for-all with this education and that everybody's a good player and they will keep the data safe. But the good thing that's in here is they're calling for better processes around education other than in school, which I'm really, really pleased about. And the Special Needs Jungle have brought out an article that basically says they're interested in that, develop EOTAS guidance. You know, anybody who's tried to get EOTAS, Section 19 education or any of those related things will know that it is a nightmare, an absolute nightmare. You virtually have to go to a special needs tribunal to get it at the moment, which is ironic because EOTAS can be cheaper than a special school place. So it always makes me laugh that they don't do it. They just think everybody should be in school. Anything
you
else?
You didn't like the figure that the DFE had posted, which actually has been mentioned here by Special Needs Jungle. But yeah, you wanted to highlight that.
I have fired off an email very quickly to the DFE tonight because they actually say on the page about this that the Department for Education data shows the children in elective home education. What's with the inverted commas on elective? Elective home education increased by nearly a third to 153,300. We don't have that. And when you actually click on the link in the DFE document, not the special needs jungle one, then you will find that the number is actually the real one, which is 111,000.
Yeah.
So they're quoting an incorrect figure, whether by design or accident. I don't know. I wouldn't dare say, but
Could certainly do with a clarification anyway.
Yeah,
Certainly
definitely.
publicly. Yep.
Definitely. Okay.
There are two other things with the Ofsted report, the Ofsted CQC report. One is that people should note their definition of children not in school.
Yes.
Because it is much wider than, well, it doesn't surprise me, but it is much wider than a lot of people realise that it would be. And they directly link it, their definition, to being inspired by the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill's definition. But yeah, that's not in the special needs jungle, that's in the actual Ofsted report. The other bit to be aware is as you walk through it, they conflate lots of things, but they actually then describe some fantastic support by an LA for elective home education. The support is to help your child get into school, and that is deemed to be exemplary support. Now, it's not a conflation mix-up, because that's what I thought first, because they have a separate section on CME, and they have a separate section on flexi schooling, and so it is an intentional bit that's what that particular LA, now we can narrow it down because they only covered a few LAs, genuinely believe, and I know one of them it definitely isn't because one of them's my LA, so I can narrow it down even further, that LA genuinely is celebrating that as being active, good support. And they're using it for elective home education. If they said for those children who are classified as elective, but the parents say are forced, I wouldn't have an issue with that, but they don't. And they also talk about the curriculums and things like that with the parents and help them know what's best to meet the children's needs. But nothing about whether that is what the parent wants. And that is just a slippery slope for me, particularly when they link it to the children not in school register in the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill. And then later on, they start talking about support and they think this is a good bit of support. They also bring up the bit about school nursing being inconsistent for home educators and children on EOTUS, which is a nice thing to highlight. It shouldn't be inconsistent, but we do know because of the way it's commissioned, I know you've looked into this as well, Alison, there are some areas where the school nurses they should pick them up, but they don't pick them up because they've not been commissioned the right way by the right people. So there is a genuine gap because people have just forgotten that there are children who are not in school. So it has picked up a few good things, but two very slippery things to watch.
It's quite a chunky report. There's quite a lot in it. I've only had a skim read. Michelle's clearly skim read bits I've not skim read, so that's why we work as a team.
I did my bus journey to work was reading that document when it came out.
Right, there you go. Oh, and that's the way we do it, folks. We're volunteers and we fit it in round everything else that we do.
Especially as the government want to dump everything online towards the end of the week, and my list for you guys have just got bigger and bigger and bigger. But,
well, as I was preparing for this, and I started preparing for this at about 4:30 this afternoon. As I was preparing for this, the new set of amendments dropped. So let's start again with some of those. So that's the way it is, folks. But we do this work, so you don't have to.
Moving on to that Schools Week article about the ICO and the DFE.
Yep. So then Digital Me had done some brilliant work in the past and discovered that there were lots of data issues around school, how the school spine collects data, and that it's not anonymized, etc., etc. And this included gambling firms having children's data provided to them, etc., etc. Now, they were supposed to come out with a full report about this, and they hadn't, and it was followed up. But now they're not going to release the report because it might influence the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill that's passing currently, and they don't want it negatively impacted by past failings because they fixed those problems. But if they fix the problems, the report should nicely, with a nice bow, add an addendum that says, but none of this is a worry anymore because we fixed it X, Y, and Z. But no, their solution, and bearing in mind the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, still no data protection impact assessment, Still plenty of questions saying we're not considering that part. We're not considering the consistent identifier until regulations. And now they're not putting into the public domain a report that should already be here under an ICO direction, because it might prejudice. And they don't want the past audit to prejudice the current bill going through. So another thing, if your MP won't support you against the bill, maybe ask your MP to demand this report is published. Because if your MP is one of these ones doing the copy and paste citing, don't worry, GDPR is magical and fixes everything, and everybody looks after data in a wonderful way, and there's nothing to worry about from the bill, say thank you very much. Can you explain why the DfE will not publish this report? And can you ask them directly? So for all of you who are frustrated with your MP because they won't address directly what you want directed, get them on this. Get this report in the public domain. Let's see what the concerns were and if we think they have fixed those before a load of children's data is horrendously shared and potentially breached left, right and centre.
We have this wonderful march on the 17th of January. It's an all-comers march. They're not all home educators. Please bring everybody you know who objects to the bill. We will not all be people who agree with each other when we are marching and rallying. We have one thing in common and one thing only, and that is we are against the bill. So please come to it. Don't expect everybody there and his dog to agree with everything that you believe. That's not how these things work. But we need the numbers. We need everybody who disagrees with any aspect of this bill, which is basically every word of this bill, to rock up. If you can't come, then please consider donating your travel expenses or what you would have spent on travel to the fund. We've got £1,950 raised so far. The fund pays for the things that we need to spend money on to make this work well. So, for example, we need a stage, we need a PA system, we need licenses, we need lots of other things. We need a little bit of merch, we need some high-vis jackets. It's stuff like that that make the protest work really well. So we do need some funds to make it work.
And then, Michelle, do you want to talk about what's happening on the 17th?
Right. So when we get to the 17th of December, we have held the bill back for one whole year. It was the 17th of December 2024 when the Children's Wellbeing and Skills Bill got its first reading. It was also when we were all told this flagship bill would be through by Easter this year. How wrong were they? And if you followed the passage of this bill, you'll have seen it rushed through the House of Commons and it was looking like they may have had a chance. But luckily, the members of the House of Lords actually listened to real people. So when people are like, I'm concerned, this is going to directly affect me, they actually listened, took on board and did research and made sure things were scrutinised and discussed, and they've continued to do so. So we know now we've well and truly pushed it over that year mark. And we just think because it is a significant thing, because even after Easter, we were told, and I know many other organisations were told, it will definitely be through by the summer so that regulations could be laid in the summer. Again, we managed to push that back. Then it was going to be through by the autumn half term. Again, still pushed back. Then it was definitely going to have royal assent by Christmas. So to get it this far, get it pushed back this far is significant. And we just feel that we should mark that. So we're looking for people to celebrate on the 17th that we have held it back so far. And that is down to everyone writing to their MPs, writing to peers, getting things into newspapers in their local areas, meeting with their MP, books being published, and people raising it on social media, people linking to other organisations so that things like Together Declaration are now actively spreading the word about the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill and the consistent identifier. So it's about all the other organisations. And recently, I know the BASW, which obviously they're social workers, and they're going, yes, excuse me, the bill, we've got concerns there as well. Now it's only recently they've come out publicly, but they now are publicly speaking out about certain parts of the bill, which when we were trying to get people to back when it was in the House of Commons, these voices were not there because people hadn't looked at the bill. They looked at the title. Oh, what can you say about children's wellbeing? Now, through all of your collective actions, we've got people reading the words and they're going, oh, Yeah, no, that doesn't do what we were told it would do.
Yeah.
So there is still time. We know when the report stage is, so we know we've got time to also still write to the peers. But the 17th of December, we really just want to mark it because it is a phenomenon achievement from everybody collectively working together to have pushed it back so far. Throughout the day on the 17th, there will be different bits going on the page, but we also look forward to other people telling us how they're going to celebrate the birthday of the bill. And let's hope it doesn't exist as an act to have a second birthday.
Yes. And just remember, it took all of us a long time to get our heads around this bill. It's written in such a complicated, convoluted and verbose way with arms and legs and things that don't work. We've tried to draw flow charts of some of the procedures and they don't work. You know, it's a mess. So it's not surprising that people like that did not come out and because they understood it right at the beginning. Like Michelle says, it's got the words well-being in it. You know, what's to argue about? But, you know, try and find the well-being in it because we haven't found it yet. So thank you for everybody who has helped so far, and let's carry on and get rid of it.
Yep. And moving on, you wanted to talk about this one, Alison.
Yes. Michelle and I both work in special needs, and we both chuckled when we saw this. There's a black hole in SEND. There's a deficit. What's the deficit at the moment, Michelle? About 6 or 7 billion?
Yeah, depending on who figures you look at, it is around about 6 billion plus.
So there's a debt already owed by 6 billion, of about at least 6 billion. So the 3 billion's a drop in the ocean. Even if there wasn't a debt, 3 billion quid would not pay for very much. When you start looking into the detail of this, or what detail they have released of this, it's very, very minor changes. So what they want to do is they want to introduce a room in a school so that they can send the kids in there once they get overwhelmed. Well, how about having a place that they don't get overwhelmed in the first place? You know, it's not a solution. It's absolutely not a solution. It's just trying to shut the populace up about the fact that there's not enough money out there. It's not a transformational expansion of specialist things. I've seen calm learning in spaces in mainstream schools. I've also seen teachers forbid children from entering them because they've been naughty. Yeah. For example, I had a child just today. I heard about a child who had asked 3 times she had a special card that meant that she could leave the room. So they have to send for the team to come and get them because these days, apparently, it's unsafe for you to wander around a school on your own unless it's break time. So they have to send a team. So she has a special card that says that she can leave. And the teacher ignored her 3 times, by which time she was so dysregulated, she kicked off. And then they decided that as a result of that, that was her choice in behaviour. So they were going to give her a detention. So, you know, this is what actually happens in school. This is not going to change those actions. What we need is better training. We need better places. We want kinder schools. We need calmer schools. We need more special educational needs places. We need smaller classes. There's so many things that we need, some of which don't actually cost any money, but none of it is in here, as far as I'm concerned.
It also gets worse than that, because how they're finding this money, they haven't found a new pot of money down the back of the sofa. What they're doing is they're cancelling the plans for some new alternative provisions and free schools that were due to be being opened. So they could have gone, what we're going to do is we're going to ensure these new schools being opened will be more inclusive. But no, what we're going to do is we need the money. We'll sort of half fix things in a way that lots of people have said won't work by cancelling projects that are due to happen in the future, which, you know, I think it's 77 special and alternative provision free school proposals.
Yeah, that's what I've read.
Cancelled.
Also, a lot of those proposals were almost ready to go, I believe.
Yeah.
So these ones that they could have literally said, well, we'll only allow you to open if you ensure you are inclusive, which would have been a much better use. No, we'll cancel those and we'll take the money and go for something that a lot of people have said is probably not going to actually be a solution.
Yeah, it's no good creating a room for somebody to go to if you don't then allow the kids to go to it, for example. Yeah, we'd have been much better off with more AP places and stuff, but the government is determined, I think, to get rid of AP as far as possible, alternative provision as far as possible. They want every child in school, including those who are co-educated. So there we go.
Yeah, we've got a comment from Christine here saying 2.9 billion was originally allocated to building free schools, 100 million extra allocated, but no more free schools to be built. Does the DFE know what they're doing? Yeah, we feel you, Christine.
That would be a no.
Maybe we'll ask them in the next meeting.
Yeah.
And then we've just got one more thing to cover just quickly at the end, which is Children in Chancery, which is for sale. And it's come up.
Yeah,
close
so
now.
this
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Joy Baker's book. Joy Baker is our home ed hero from the past. Her book was republished very recently with a foreword in it by our very own Julia English. And there are another 2 companion books published with it that are about the home life of Joy and her children. This one's actually about her struggle to determine the education for her children. It's a brilliant read, absolutely brilliant read. Remember that you're talking about the 1950s and 60s when you read it, just saying. But yeah, it's a brilliant read, and it's not expensive either. Every home educator should have one of these on their bookshelf, definitely.
Yep. And that's everything I've got to share today. You go.
We're not mentioning Christmas card action.
Ooh, yes.
Oh,
yes.
forgot about that.
So hopefully some of you have seen the Google Drive with the different options for Christmas cards that you can send to your MP and put a nice message in about why they should oppose the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, or thanking them if they're one of the people who did turn up to the petition debate and passionately spoke on your behalf. There's no harm sending one to those anyway, because they already understand the concerns that we have.
My favourite one is the one where it's got the setting lights to the children and all I want for Christmas
there's
is.
a few of those.
Yeah, there's some really good ones.
Yeah.
There will be a link underneath this in the Substack.
Let me just share it so you guys can see.
There we go.
Which one is it you like? Because there's a few on fire.
The one bottom right. That's my favourite.
This one.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to send it. But you can send these places like Moonpig and places like that and get them printed off officially, so they look like a proper posh card. That might be quite an interesting thing to do. So yeah, there we go. Yeah, it's a consistent message.
Yep, there will be a link for those once I can find them. But yep, we will get that sorted out.
Right. So we'd be delighted if you can join us next Friday for what's possibly going to be our last one of the year. We are considering taking a little break. Next Friday will be the 19th, and that will be possibly our last broadcast of the year, unless we can get up the energy to do one in between. But I think we could all do with a couple of weeks break. I don't know about you two, but yeah. And I want to thank you for joining us. Make sure that you sign up to the Substack. If you're not already signed up to the Substack, get all your friends to sign up to the Substack. Put the Substack on your Facebook wall. Put it on your Instagram. Put it everywhere. It's a really, really good way of keeping in touch with what's going on. If you can't watch this video when it comes out every week, you can watch it on there. If you join the Substack, it will email you and it will tell you when it refreshes, when it gets a new post on it. So that's great. I'd like to thank Juliet for allowing me to step into her very, very, very big shoes. She is the master at this, and we do miss her dearly when she's not here running it. Yeah, but she's got bigger fish to fry. like a little tiny grandchild. So,
Yep.
yeah. So
Yeah.
thanks
But we can
everybody.
excuse her just this once.
Yes. Yeah. So hope your preparation for Christmas is going well. We'll see you next week for our last one of the year. And thank you for joining us. See you later.
Bye-bye.